Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa azim sultanik. So kita continue pembincangan kita tentang ayat-ayat suci Surah Al Baqarah. I suggest hari tu I cannot remember kita stop kat mana. 31. Tapi okay, kalau macam tu kita, what we do today, we go back from 30 lah. Kita start daripada 30 balik, because ayat 30 bermulanya cerita tentang Adam.
Ya.
Bermulanya tentang Adam.
39
kan? 39 rasanya. So 30 sampai 39 tu dia menceritakan tentang the downfall of Adam from grace. Okay, masa dia dekat dalam jannah kan, lepas tu dia katakan he got near to the tree, lepas tu dia makan buah khuldi, lepas tu dia downfall. So that is 30 to 31. After 30 to 39. After 39, then the Surah Al Baqarah tu start talking about Bani Israel, Musa and Bani Israel. So what does that mean now? That means kalau kita recollect mula-mula the surah tu define who are the muttaqin. So lepas define who are the muttaqin, and then also define who are the kafirun, and then after defining who are the kafirun, and then Allah talk about the rejectors, the hypocrites, the corruptors. That means all those encompass all those group lah, the group that is not kafirun, but they say they are Muslim, but they are actually corruptors, they are actually munafiq, and they are actually musyrikin, munafiqun and fasiqun. Mufsidun are the fasad are basically corruptors. Corruptors are those people who say they are Muslim, but they actually corrupt the law, Allah's law. For example, Allah's law, no rasuah, tapi they corrupt the law. So habis, not only him yang terbabit, those people yang around him, bila dia nak corrupt the law tu, they get involved other people as well, including the family members including dia punya workers. So not only him alone, most of the time the other people also involved. So these are the fasad, the fasidun. After that, then Allah make a call why it is very important that we as human being must take security, must trust and take security on Allah punya ayat, Allah punya law. So that was a call made by Allah. When he made a call, then after that the story of Adam comes in. So when we look at the story of Adam, we don't look at it as a historical narration. Once upon a time, Allah created Adam in the Jannah, and then he made a mistake by taking going to near the tree and eat the fruit, and then Allah sent him down to the earth, something like that. But so now we look at that piece of story, piece of information, by looking at ourselves inwardly. So inwardly looking at ourselves, so we have to establish that we are Adam, because now Allah is addressing Adam. By nature, we will be influenced by the earthly demands, or by the worldly pleasure, by the beauty of the physical world, beauty of money, all those things, desires. So all those will influence our life. So once we influence those influence our life, then we will be drowned. Our true self will be sleeping. When our true self is sleeping, the self that is governing our day-to-day life is actually our separate self, or we say in the lower consciousness. The world that we are in is in the lower consciousness, because the separate self cannot go higher, cannot go to the higher consciousness. Because the separate self only look at matters, objects. Macam thought is also considered as object, matters. Thoughts and feelings, they are all objects and matters. So kalau it is beyond the world of matters, it is actually in the higher consciousness. That one, the brain cannot go further than that, cannot see. Whereas the Quran asks us to look at the bil-ghaib, the psychological aspect. When you are in the lower consciousness, you do not receive revelation, because you are sleeping. The true self is sleeping. Because the true self is sleeping, they receive the revelation. So the true self is sleeping, and then the food for thought for the separate self is his own mind. Not only his own mind, ada human punya mind. Kan, ada human punya mind also can be part of dia punya world. In this scenario where we are drowned, the true self is drowned and sleeping, want to evolve Adam, or not, or want to evolve the self into Adam. Adam is pure. Adam is basically the fu'ad, the inside. The fu'ad is the heart, pure heart. The inside is the eyesight. Not eyesight, is the basar, the sight, and the hearing. So these are the three faculties that absorb the truth, that receive and absorb the truth. But by nature we are influenced, so now we want to evolve and become a better person. Then only the next subtopic comes in, which talk about Bani Israel. Because Bani Israel means those people who are on the journey of changing, on the journey of evolution, to evolve oneself.
Bani Israel.
Bani Israel. Because the word Isra means journey. So the word E in front indicate intensity. A person who intensely want to make a change to himself, to be a better person. And then Musa is a person who has very strong values in humanity. That is Musa. Musa is a person who has strong values in humanity. Those are the things pertaining to Bani Israel, the journey. But before we go to that journey, before we can make that journey of evolution, so we have to understand now the evolution of Adam and how Adam fall from the grace, from his grace. Just now what we discussed, the nature of the Adam, the nature of Adam. That's what we want to look at before we talk about the journey. So now we go to verse 30. Verse 30.
30 pada Tuhan.
30 lah kita, because we want to go back, start all over again on topic tentang Adam. You need to be recollected, need to be So now we go back to verse 30, recap a bit. Wa iza qala rabbuka Wa iza means and when. Wa tu and is what is when. And when call rabbuka, and when your Lord say, qala rabbuka lil malaika, lil tu for, Rabb lah, rabbuka your Lord, ka tu your, lil malaika for the malaika. So I do not use the word to malaika. And when your Lord say to, and when your Lord said to, I do not use the word to the malaika. Instead, I use the word for the malaika. So the reason is, I do not want to create a separate being. If I say your Rabbuka, your Lord, to the malaika, that means now your Lord is talking to a separate being from you, separate from you, to the malaika. If you use the word to. So that's why we want to use the word for, because it indicates that malaika is actually part of you. Because you are now looking inward. You are looking inwardly. So we say it is the faculty of authority. So what do you mean by faculty of authority? Actually, this is from the psychology punya aspect. Because if you Google the psychological meaning for faculty of authority, it tell you that the faculty of authority is your intuition. Your will, also faculty of authority. Intuition tu, in our practice, we indicate it as the first bisikan. And the first bisikan is always the truth. We say that lah. But that one is just an indication lah. The first bisikan, because at the end of the day, it's very difficult to determine which one actually is the first one. Because after the bisikan come, there are repeated bisikan come. So when repeated bisikan come, you don't know which bisikan is the truth. From the study of from hakikatnya study, dia namakan bisikan halus. So dia kata bisikan halus, bisikan kasar. Bisikan halus is the intuition, bisikan kasar is the thoughts. So there is a difference between the thoughts and the intuition. The thoughts is a product of your mind and product of your thinking. Product of your thinking is the thought, but intuition is not product of your thinking. Okay. So we say your will and your intuition actually form part of yourself, which is classified as malaika. So now your Rabb now talk to the malaika, for the malaika. Indeed, I will instill in the lower consciousness a Khalifah. If you remember, we say the world of matters, which is in the lower consciousness, is actually the projection of the divine. Okay, the projection of the divine. For example, if you look at the movie on the screen, on the TV screen, that movie is a projection of the screen. The movie is not the screen. Okay? The movie is not the screen. It is only a projection of the screen. Normally, we will get ourselves very emotional with the movie, not with the screen. Normally, we don't see the screen, even though it is there. In the lower consciousness, from our perspective, how we look at it, we segregate the lower consciousness and the higher consciousness, because there are impurities in our consciousness. So we look at from our perspective lah, not from Allah perspective. Allah perspective is consciousness satu je, single, wadah je. But from our perspective, there's lower and there's higher. So the world we see is a projection. So our self, the self that we have now, which is the true self, not the separate self, is actually a projection of the divine. That's why it comes from and it will go back to. Come from, go back to. Some people give a name of roh dari Allah dan kembali kepada Allah. But I want to use it differently lah, the word roh differently. So I think I don't want to use the word roh lah. But by knowing some ulama use the word roh tu, that means we have certain understanding lah, understanding of what we mean by the true self. So this, the true self, in the world of the lower consciousness, is actually a projection of the divine. That means the rest of the matter, which is the separate self and the world of the physical world, they only belong here in this world. They only belong in the time frame of now, not the before and after. It's only now. So that means the physical world and our separate self cannot go beyond the physical world. That's why when we die, this is what I experienced during my attack, heart attack. So the experience that I have is, I stay where I am. I stand where I am, but the others yang go actually. From other people perspective, if somebody die, we say he left this world. But from the person facing the death perspective, from his perspective, it is the world that left him. The other way around. So one after the other, you will see, or you will be aware, one after the other will go. Satu. The last one yang I remember, yang I can still figure out about the physical world is there was a man bisik in my telinga lah. So syadah lah. Syadah lah. So syadah. So that was the last dekat telinga tu. After that, dia pun gone. So that means the physical world will not come with me, and will not go with me to the next world. So that is the scenario. So when let's look at the verse again. Indeed, I will instill in the lower consciousness a Khalifah. So that means now when we are in this physical world, which is the lower consciousness, we are actually a Khalifah of Allah. So that's why the true self is a Khalifah to Allah. What is Khalifah? Khalifah is, some people translate Khalifah as a successor, Allah punya successor. But there's a very nice translation by Ibn Arabi. Dia punya translation is he is fronting, he is projection is a projection of the divine. So that means whatever he say, whatever his action are, they all represent what the divine wants. So he act on behalf of. Okay, he act on behalf of the divine. So that is the true nature punya nature. So that is the Khalifah punya nature. Kalau somebody punya son, whatever he does actually represent whatever his father wants him to do. So that means he's a true son lah. So the true son tu is the true Khalifah. So Allah said He wants to instill in the lower consciousness a Khalifah. In the lower consciousness, in this world of physical. So acting behind him, they say, they ni is malaikat lah. Malaikat ni, which is the intuition, the will tadi tu. They say, will you instill in it and cause to fit the embellishment, attraction? Because they know in the lower consciousness there will be a lot of attraction. Attraction is basically come in the form of adornment, beauty, status, fake illusionary happiness, fake happiness. So there are a lot of attraction in this lower consciousness that the Malaikat said. While we are occupied with your approvals, that means while the intuition and will, they are occupied with Rabb, whatever Rabb wants to do. Then Rabb said, indeed I know that which you do not know. So that is basically from here we can see now the nature of the true self and the separate self in the lower consciousness. And then 231, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ أَرَدَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِنْ كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. And learning was imparted to Adam. Adam is a person who is fully equipped with the heart, the pure heart, the sight and the hearing. So with these three faculties, learning is imparted. That means he received knowledge. He received knowledge from the Rabb. Okay, the Rabb actually sustained his soul, the growth and the development of the soul. So he learned, and then those who are ready to attain awareness. And then he showed to the malaikat the intuition of the thing. Will inform yourself about me with the higher intelligence of this if you are truthful. So with this knowledge that he received, he has the capacity to increase his intelligence. So that means now the function of the mind is actually to brighten up. The mind brighten up. The mind is actually very powerful. You can go to venture to a lot of areas. So the mind is able to brighten up, give light until it is very clear. The understanding become very clear. Okay, receive the knowledge, you accept it, and then you put on your capacity, the mind put on your capacity, and then you get the intelligence. The great intelligence. You get full clarity. The understanding become very clear to you. So 232. Qalu subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Subhanaka la ilma lana ilma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. They said, exalted are you, we have no knowledge except what you have taught. This is the malaikah punya reply. So the word subhanaka, normally kita akan zikir subhanallah, subhanallah. So subhanaka, ka tu is you. Subhana means the root word actually means swim.
Oh.
Swimming, to swim. So you are supposed to swim in the ocean of knowledge. It is an ocean of knowledge. What do you know dengan what you don't know, there's so much that you do not know. So the knowledge is an ocean. So you have to swim in the knowledge, because basically you swim because one is you want to explore new frontier. The other reason is you want to get better understanding. And then you know that your Rabb is fully knowledgeable. Alimul Hakim. Alim tu, the word alim come from knowing. So exalted are you tadi Rabb lah. So subhanallah. So that means when we praise Allah, we say exalted are you, is because of that knowledge. Or it is because of the ocean of the knowledge. So exalted are you, we have no knowledge. So that means now Malaika said we don't have knowledge. So when the Malaika said the intuition and the will do not have knowledge, what does that mean? That means they are only messenger. That means all knowledge comes from the Rabb. So even Muhammad also don't have knowledge. Muhammad's knowledge also comes from Rabb. And all the messengers, all the human beings, we all don't have knowledge. The knowledge comes from the Rabb. So when the knowledge is transmitted to us, that's why we say we have to download the knowledge. So that's where Salat comes in. Salat is a process of downloading. Bila just now, the day I said Salat got two words kan, Salu, Wasalu and Salu. So the word Wasalu means to have connection. Macam Wi-Fi connection lah. We have to have connection. Wi-Fi connection. So there are so many people, they don't have Wi-Fi connection because their connection is with other network. Kan the network of gangsterism lah, the network of drugs, the network of macam-macam network lah yang ada. The network of entertainment. So they are so involved. Yeah?
Worldly matters lah.
Worldly pleasure. So they're so involved in other networks, so they don't have connection with Rabb, with Rabb in the network. So that means they do not salu, they do not salat. They don't salat. So you can be doing 5 prayers a day, but if you don't have that connection with your Rabb, that means if you do it using your subconscious mind, mechanical, you're so mechanical doing it, you do not have a connection, then it is still not acceptable lah. It is useless lah. And then we say it is the download. So the intuition, you just trigger the intuition and the will. So you have to have the will to do it. Of course, that one also is another factor lah. People don't have the will to do it. The people don't have the desire. They prefer to spend their energy in other things. Imagine if you spend your energy in in entertainment, for example, somebody he likes dancing, so he been dancing from morning to evening. Then when he comes back home ataupun working environment, keluar pagi, go to office, work, go meeting lah, semua work. Then by the time he comes back at night, you'll be very tired. You don't have the energy to trigger your will and to trigger your mind to look at, to establish that connection. So that's why the will and the intuition too need to be triggered in order to establish the connection with your Rabb. Then only you can download. So that's why he says here that in subhanaka la ilma lana illa amantana innaka antal alimul hakim. Exalted are you, we have no knowledge except what you have taught us. That's why in the Quran, Allah said Allah yang teach. Dia yang teach. Not other than him. It is you who is the knowing, the wise. 233. Qala ya Adam anbi'hum bi asma'ihim falamma anba'ahum bi asma'ihim qala alam lakum inni a'lamu ghaibas samawati wal ard wa a'lamu ma tubduna wa ma kuntum taktubun. He said, O Adam, inform them about your own self with their lofty characteristics. And when he had informed them about himself along with their lofty characteristics, he said, did I not tell you that I know the unseen of the As-Sama, higher consciousness, and the Al-Ard, lower consciousness, and I know what you yourself make apparent and what you continue to suppress. Okay, now the Adam now has received knowledge from the Rabb. He received knowledge from the Rabb. He accept it, and then the instruction to Adam is to inform the Malaika about your own self with the lofty characteristic. So now we're talking about is the nature of the self. Adam now realizes what is his nature. His nature of the true self, which is the Khalifah, is supposed to be acting on behalf of, and on behalf of his Rabb. His characteristic, his nature and his characteristic. Nature of being and characteristic. And then he also now aware of the illusions of beauty, adornment, and entertainment, that attraction that attract him away from being his true self. So his characteristic or his true self is he has to be a Khalifah on behalf of his Rabb. That is his true self. But the nature of the physical world, there are so much attraction, they will attract him away from being his true self. Okay, from being, his true being. So that one he already aware, he already realized at this stage. So if you start, for example, now, we're talking about now, we're not talking about historical narration, so we're talking about now. Now we understand about, from these verses, we understand our true self. That is knowledge level. Knowledge level. Whether you embrace that knowledge or not, you embrace and you put into your own experience. For example, if people read, for example, there is a book written regarding the true self and the separate self. If you read that book 10 times, you can give lecture. And you can give lecture to people about true self and separate self. But whether you embrace and you experience that's why if you remember Haji Samad punya word, he used the word alam rasa. Dia panggil the word, you kena masuk alam rasa kata. You kena merasai dia. So in English I would use the word experience. You experience it yourself. So we don't want to talk about knowledge level, and that's why there are so many PhD people talk about knowledge, but whether they can transform themselves or not to a better person, that is another problem. So he informed them, did I not tell you that I know the Bible? So he now knows what's the nature about himself and what's the nature about the lower consciousness, the higher consciousness and the lower consciousness. I know what you yourself make apparent and what you... Okay, so at this stage, at verse 33, he now know, he has the knowledge already. Then 34. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And when we said to the malaika, faculty of authority in mind, be humble for Adam, the one that is be humble for Adam. Fasajadu, became humble except Iblis, the one wrapped in evil emotion. He refused and he became arrogant, and he was from the kafirin, the one who covered the knowledge with ignorance. Now the situation now is, the instruction is to be humble to Adam. The malaikah lah. The malaikah tadi, the intuition, the willpower, supposed to be humble to Adam. So they accept Iblis. So we say that Iblis is a person who is wrapped with the evil thoughts, the evil emotion, wrapped with evil emotion. So now we are talking about Fu'ad. There's no Fu'ad. Fu'ad is a pure heart. Now the Fu'ad now has become a Qalbu. A Qalbu is a pure heart that is influenced, polluted with impurities. Okay, a Fu'ad that is that is polluted with impurities is called a Qalbu. Tapi dalam bahasa Malaysia kita kata hati je lah. Hati dengan kalbu lah. Fu'ad, I think there's no such thing. It is the nature lah. We say that when we are in the lower consciousness, in the world of the physical matter, we will be influenced by the attraction. But for those people who are conscious of their status, their purity, probably they will not be influenced a lot. That means it is not so deep. The influence is not deep. I mean, he can detach. If he want to detach, he can detach. That should be the way. You have you can have emotion about certain thing, but you are not attached. You can look at beauty of the scenery, but you're not attached to the physical scenery. You're only attached to the divine. So that is Iblis. So a person, a mind of that nature, which is wrapped in the evil emotion, this kind of thoughts, this kind of mind will not sujud. So when we say sujud, what do we mean by sujud? Normally it's translated as prostration, prostrate. But if you prostrate, it only resembles the physical movement. Whereas when we say the understanding should come with bil-ghaib, with psychological meaning. So the psychological meaning for sujud is actually obey, to be in obedience. You obey, you submit yourself and you obey. Obey the instruction, for example. Then you sujud, in a way. Psychologically you sujud because you obey. The malaika obey, sujud, except for Iblis, except for the ego and the self-interest. The ego and the self-interest, they wrap themselves around the self, and then the true self now is sleeping. So whatever thoughts, whatever action, whatever saying, whatever thinking, whatever projection of the mind comes out are all based on the ego and the self-interest. Okay. So because of that, then the intuition is not submitting. It's not aware. So the true self is not submitting. So now the fu'ad, the hearing, the insight, the ability, he refused and became arrogant. Basically, arrogant comes from the ego. Arrogant come from the ego and the self-interest, and he was from the kafir, the one who covers the knowledge with ignorance. Because earlier he has the knowledge, so now he covers the knowledge, so he becomes kafir. 35. وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةَ وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةَ فَتَكُونَا مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And we said, O Adam, uskun, calm down, remain still, you and your pair, Al-Jannah, the garden of hidden knowledge, and both consume intelligence from it freely whenever you both desire. But do not come near Sajarata, such words that germinate differences, disputes, lest you be from the Zalimin, unjust. So the instruction to Adam is, he can consume. He can consume the knowledge, he and his partner. He and his partner. So this is the one that people translate Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, his partner. But in our situation, when we look inward, when we say Adam, Adam is the self that is ready to be open to the new knowledge. And then the partner to Adam is the Jannah, the hidden knowledge that he will download. So this hidden knowledge and Adam can consume and manipulate and manage until he get intelligence, very clear clarity, and further go up higher lah dia punya knowledge, makam dia. So he is allowed to do that. He is allowed to explore the frontier. So that means you don't be afraid to explore the frontier of this knowledge, because in our society many people do not encourage you to explore this new knowledge ni, especially about agama ni. People say you have to have a guru, to guide you. But we have seen from these verses that you are encouraged to do it all by yourself, because you are equipped with your fu'ad, with your sight and your hearing. Allah equipped you, and then Allah said He will teach you. Then now He say in this verse, He said you can explore, you can go to a greater length of what has been given to you, you and your partner. However, one condition: you can consume intelligence from it freely, but do not come near the tree. Sajarata is a tree. So, but from Quran perspective, a tree means a word. A good tree means a good word. A bad tree means a bad word. So let's see, there is one verse in the Quran that explains about this. 14:24. Let's look at Surah Ibrahim 14 verse 24. Alam tara kayfa daraballahu masalan kalimatan tayyibatan kasajaratin tayyibatin asluha sabitun wa far'uha fis sama. So the translation here, it says, have you not considered how Allah presents an example, making a good word like a good tree whose root is firmly fixed and its branches in the sky. So from this verse we know that what Allah means by sajara is a tree, is a word, is a good word. Kalau good word is good tree, is good word. So now, what is this tree? Do not come near the tree. Dia tak cakap do not consume, do not takrabu, do not get near to the tree. But do not come near sajarata, such words that germinate differences, dispute, lest you be. So that means now, when we say do not get near the tree, that means we do not get near the ego and the self-interest. The ego and the self-interest will germinate differences, will germinate disputes, division, especially division. If you have ego, the root of the problem is you recognize that yourself is separate from the true self, because you don't know the true self. You only know your separate self. So you believe you exist. Okay, you believe you exist. So how do you recognize your own self? You recognize your own self by the knowledge that you have, by the experience, by the personality. For example, if I meet somebody, I meet my friend whom I know from 30 years ago, then I say, wow, he has changed physically. So his physical image, because the image that I capture in my brain 30 years ago and the image today when I see him, obviously it's different kan? Physical image dia memang different lah, because he already aged. Then I cannot recognize him physically. But when I look at his personality, I would say, hey, you don't change from the 30 years ago. You're still the same. You like to, for example lah kan, you like to do this, you like to say words, you like to create problem by disputing other people, for example lah. So you don't change your personality. So those people yang change the personality are those people who transform lah. Those who do not transform from 30 years ago, that means you can still see him the same personality as today, compared to 30 years ago. That personality is formed by the ego and the interest, the self-interest. So that is the sajarata. That is the word that you don't get near to. You don't get near your ego and your self-interest, lest you will create differences, dispute, and then you become an unjust person in darkness. Okay, 36. فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ عَنْهَا فَأَخْرَجَهُمَا مِمَّا كَانَ فِيهِ وَقُلْنَا اهْبِطُوا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌّ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَىٰ حِينٍ. Then both let Satan slip themselves concerning it, and he himself removed from what they were in it. And we said, degrade yourself, all of you, as rivals to one another, and you will have in the lower consciousness an ongoing desire to settlement and an advantage leading towards the time of reaping. So here is the downfall of Adam. The downfall of Adam is he let Satan slip themselves concerning it. Concerning it is the getting near the tree lah. Getting near to the ego and the self-interest. So that is the scenario. He is getting himself near. So for example, if you are not strong, you don't play the game of ego and self-interest if you're not strong. So here Adam play that game, he get near. So when he gets near, then Satan will slip in. Satan slip in, that means whatever action out of the result of him getting near, create whatever action based on the ego. Whatever saying that he say whatever word come out from his mouth will be based on the ego. So because he gets near to the ego. So Satan is the outcome, whatever saying, whatever action, whatever idea, projection, imagination, semua come out of the ego and self-interest. That is Satan. So the difference between Iblis and Satan. Because of that, we said, the Rabb said, degrade yourself, all of you, degrade yourself as rivals to one another. So when you come as rival between intuition and the ego, so then your mind become agitated, the mind become restless, and then you very difficult to see what is right and what is wrong, whether I'm doing the right thing or not, whether sekarang kalau bagi sedekah orang cek besar nak menunjuk pula umpamanya kan. So there's a lot of problem in life because the mind now becomes agitated and restless. So when you are in the lower consciousness, it is your state of mind is that and then ongoing desire to settlement. So your desire will always be to stay in this world. You do not want to go to the next world. You want to stay in this world. Your desire is immortality in this world. Advantage leading towards the time of reaping. And then you will get a lot of enjoyment and a lot of fake happiness from time to time, whatever thing that you do. You'll be in the world of illusion. Your happiness you'll be deluded into other things. 37, tak sampai 39 kot. Last one فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. Then Adam encountered from his Rabb some propositions, some words. Then he turned the retrospect upon it. Indeed, it is he who is ascending of repentance, the extremely merciful. So now, the process now is after you have been degraded, then you are supposed now to repent. Supposed now to repent. Okay, the stage is before you get into repentance, you have to have realization first. You have to be aware. You have to be aware of your status. Where are you now? Are you already degraded, or are you in the process of getting the knowledge? Where are you? So you have to see. You have to assess your own self. Assess your own self and see where do you stand. So you have to attain awareness. Once you attain awareness, then your Rabb will give you some proposition. Some people attain awareness or realization melalui trial. It can be death of a person near you. It can be you face certain accident, you hardship. So because you have to face that hardship give you a knock on your head. So when you get the knock on your head, then you realize, oh, what a problem! I'm a person who has been carried away so much until I forgot my relationship with God. You have to have that realization. Once you get that realization, it can be in the form of somebody knock on your head, after you realize your own self. then you will get certain word from Allah, certain word from your Rabb, guiding you to turn back to Him, to retrospect upon it. So for example, some people take a position to listen to pergi masjid lah. Go to masjid and listen to lecture and see what knowledge you can get from there. And some people, they prefer to read the Quran. Some people study the Quran. So depends. Some people, they think they can get the knowledge again by do a lot of charity work. Kalau ada banjir je, you'll be the first one to go there. So there are a lot of ways of how people trying to get back to the right footing. Indeed, it is He who is ascending of repentance. So then only you repent. So with the ada kekesalan semua kan, kesal, then only you repent. When you repent, that means not only saying that you must do it with experience, dengan dalam alam rasa tadi, with full dedication. Okay, kita stop sini. Is there anything you want to ask? Kalau tak ada, kita sudahi dengan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.